Good morning from Hamburg. So I am so excited to finally get to record this video. When I arrived 3 or 4 days ago, Alex and I just spent a lot of time together, quality time together, and he took a couple of days off from work. Now he's back at work and I get to start this video. And I promised this video for you guys to just explain the process, the booking process, the actual traveling process, and yeah, let's get started. A little backstory for you guys to help explain this booking process. I originally booked a flight from DFW to London Heathrow with British Airways with the intent of quarantining in London for 14 weeks. So I would arrive in London on a Saturday and then 2 Saturdays from then fly to Hamburg. That was before Germany allowed unmarried couples to reunite in Germany, which was effective on the 10th of August. When I received that news, I immediately decided to see what options I had to rebook, cancel my flight so I can just go to Germany straight away. I wasn't able to cancel my flight, so I ended up just having to rework around the flight that I had already booked. The next available direct flight from London to Hamburg was actually the following day from a different airport, which was fine. I just had to figure out those little details. So fast forward to August 21st, when my first leg of this travel pursuit began. DFW airport on the 21st of August was empty. So that is to be expected in the midst of this crisis and pandemic. I would actually be more worried if there were people, lots and lots of people at the airport. I only had a little bit of a hiccup at check-in, but it was regarding my TSA pre-status. I just didn't want to have to take out my electronics and fluids from my bags during going through security. But other than that, it was easy peasy. The lady at the check-in counter just confirmed that I would be ending my route in Heathrow, but she was more asking for the sake of this is the only boarding pass that she's going to be giving me. Even though I did end up divulging information that I was going to fly out of Stansted, but with a different airline, she just kind of dismissed it and said, all right, have a good trip. Went through security, was at the gate, had no issues boarding the plane, got on the plane. There was probably just 30 people on this huge international aircraft, which made social distancing very easy. The next phase was facing border control at London Heathrow. So when I arrived at London Heathrow, there was just 2 border police guards checking everybody through the international arrivals. She asked for my entry form, which is required when you're entering the UK. I already knew that, and I just had it online as a PDF confirmation. I showed it to her from my phone. It was no big deal. I told her that I was leaving London via Stansted Airport the following morning. It was less than 24 hours that I would be in the UK. So she let me pass without any real hiccups there. She just, I showed her my following boarding pass, which was with Ryanair from Stansted Airport, and she, let me on my way. I actually noticed that I didn't get a stamp on my passport, so I guess she just kind of took my word for it that I'd be leaving from another airport. Whatever. So with this overnight layover in London, I decided to book a hotel at Stansted Airport because the following day's flight was at 6:30 in the morning, which would mean I would land in London at 9, which was fantastic. I'd have the whole day. So I take a shuttle from Heathrow to Stansted. It was like an hour-and-a-half shuttle, and check into my hotel, no problem there. But I just had so much anxiety that Ryanair would not let me board my flight to Germany for whatever reason. It's almost 11 o'clock and I have an alarm set for 3:45 in the morning and I cannot sleep, guys. I've been tossing and turning for the last hour. I'm so excited but nervous. I'm just worried that of the worst case scenario, trying to check in for my flight tomorrow morning. Little did I know, I had nothing to worry about. The following morning, I wake up at like 2 a.m. because I couldn't sleep all night, and I go to the airport, walk over to the airport by around 4:30 or so, and again, no questions asked, The guy had already printed out my luggage tags. I bought 4 suitcases, but I told him I only had 3, and he was like, oh, no problem. Tagged my suitcases, and in the process of tagging them, just asked, are you moving to Germany? I think it was sheer curiosity because I had so much luggage compared to everyone else that was boarding flights. Regardless, it was a really smooth process again. Went through to the security gate. It was automatic. All you had to do was scan your boarding pass, and I went right through. While I was on the plane from the UK to Germany, our plane actually had this medical emergency. There was only me and one other girl who also happened to be a nurse, American nurse, German nurse, and we ended up having to assess this young girl. So now we are down to our last leg, this home stretch of me getting to Germany from the US, and that's facing Border Patrol at Hamburg Airport. I really didn't have any anxiety going into this last portion. I had everything that I needed, and they just had to grant me access. So the one place that I didn't have any anxiety was the one place that I had the most difficult time. I say the most difficult, but take that with a grain of salt because everything else was easy, flowing, no issues, no resistance at all. So here's what happened. Thankfully, I was one of the first people to come up to the Border Patrol. I don't know, that could be a good thing or a bad thing because I ended up holding up the line. I show my passport to the nice Border Police lady, and she immediately opens it up and gives a face because I'm American. And per everything else, Americans are not allowed into Germany at the moment. She looks over to her colleague, shows him my passport. He kind of gives a shrug, says something in German that was inaudible and I also didn't understand. And she continues to look at my passport and ends up typing on her computer, looking up for God knows what. Here I am standing on the other side of this glass, now nervous as heck because I was not expecting any kind of resistance. I offered to her, I have an invitation letter. Would you like to see it? And she's like, no, one moment, and continues to type away at her computer. She then asks me what I'm doing in Germany, and I told her my boyfriend lives here, I'm visiting him, and she asked, is he a resident? And I said, yes, he is, and then I offered again to provide his documentation. I said, I have it, would you like to see my documents? Finally, she accepts. I had this binder here that I made up with all of the documents that I needed and supplemental support documents and photos for my relationship with Alexander. So this is basically my relationship with Alexander in a binder. She accepts it, starts flipping through it. The first page are pictures of me and his family. And then the second page was the table of contents, which is in English and German. And once she reached this first page, she was actually very impressed with how organized I was. After you get to the first page, I'm not going to show you guys because there's a lot of personal information in here, but you get the invitation letter, which I translated it in English from the original German form. I have Alexander's passport and his resident card for here in Germany. The next section is the second form, which is the statement of relationship or declaration of relationship, where we dual signed, Alexander and I. And again, I translated it in English from the original German form. And then after that, I included more photos of our relationship, my flight itinerary from British Airways, and my flight itinerary from Ryanair. The last thing that I included that was not required was my confirmation for my health insurance. Never have I ever got travel health insurance, but with everything that's going on, why not? So she takes my binder, she picks up the phone, she ends up calling a superior of hers, I'm guessing a manager, and in German they're discussing my situation. She's visiting her partner, she has her documentations, and then all of a sudden it's just, I guess, the superior asking yes or no questions. So I hear her saying, yeah, and then a little comment about how I'm very organized, and then she hangs up. She handed me back my binder. She flipped through the passport to see the next blank page, and she stamped my passport and then gave me a smile, handed it back, and I went on my merry way. The whole process, like from me stepping up to the window up to her then stamping my passport, was probably 5 minutes, but it felt like it took an hour. The time was going by so slowly, and I was very, very nervous. But there wasn't any reason for them to turn me down, so I shouldn't have been nervous. I was very nice, I was very respectful of her authority, and she finally let me through.
This is it, guys. To the exit.
And I'm gonna see Alex and he's getting out. Your girl's excited. I guess I should also include, so went to go pick up my bags, met Alex, it was a lovely reunion, and the following thing, the last thing, I know that I said the last thing was arriving, but the last thing was getting tested at the airport for the coronavirus. The testing site was outside in a different building across the street from the arrivals and departure terminals, but it was an easy, quick walk, less than 5 minutes. There was a queue out the door of the building for the testing center, so it was a little easy to find. That took the longest. We were there for an hour and 15 minutes maybe, just from queuing up, and the test itself only took 30 seconds and then finally leaving, but the queue was just very, very long. I did not pay anything. The testing services were provided by the German Red Cross, and she took my information, again, didn't pay anything. I ended up giving her Alexander's information because everything was offered in German, so it wouldn't do me any justice to actually have the information anyways. She asked for my address here, my partner's information, and then I just had to queue up again to get tested. The test results ended up coming back a little more than 24 hours after I got tested. Literally, I got tested late morning on Sunday, and I received my test results Monday night at like 9 in the evening. Once I got my confirmation, we called the local health office, which I found the phone number online. So I sent them my form, and they said, and then I got my confirmation email right back from them saying that I was dismissed from my quarantine. I did that the following morning after receiving the test results because it was like 9 at night and nobody was going to be in the office anyways. So we did that like 7 or 8 in the morning the next day, and I was good to go. And today, in true Hamburg fashion, it is gloomy and rainy. Although it's bright, there is no sun, and this is my new normal. I am looking at buying a sun lamp, one of those lamps that actually like mimics a sunrise, because coming from Texas, this is not what I'm used to. At least it's nice and cool. The weather is nice temperature wise, but the gloom, it might pose a problem after living here for a few months. So we'll see. Thanks you guys for watching, and I hope this information was informative, or if you were just curious, it answered some of your questions. I'm doing great here. I am going to pick up my Rosetta Stone German language courses here in like today actually. So hopefully I can start picking up on this very difficult language. And if you guys have any questions, feel free and message me. I'm more active on my social media, but feel free to comment here for any questions or any kind of insight that you might have. Until next time. I am such a nosy neighbor. They have finished building the majority of the buildings across the street, and people are moving in, construction workers and moving workers, and it's funny because our windows aren't tinted, so the fact that I'm staring out my window and we're on the first floor and we just looking outside of the terrace, people can 100% see me. Just have to keep that in mind if I'm doing something embarrassing.